Hi guys, welcome back to the comprehensive color blending series. Today we're going to be doing the cupcake. So why did I choose the cupcake? Well, there are a lot of different textures in this cupcake. Lessons that we've done over the last couple of weeks will come together and then we can move on to newer things. The cupcake also has techniques that I'll be using as a pre-class for the scrunchie. This is a great review for those of you who have been working on the course. And if you're interested in taking the full course, I left a link in the description. It includes all the paperwork, all the pictures, the color combinations, 6 private videos that are only accessible to the people who are taking the course. So let's begin. Okay, so I printed out the picture on gray paper, and that's because it's easier to see the white on gray paper than me trying to show it to you on white paper. I'm going to start this with my mid-tone color, and my mid-tone color for this is going to be sienna brown. I'm going to be doing strawberry frosting with a chocolate cake and a white cupcake wrapper that you can actually, you know how like if you look at a cupcake, sometimes you have to put 2 for the outside to be the color of the wrapper because you could see through the wrapper. Well, we're going to be able to see the chocolate cake through the wrapper. I'm starting with my sienna brown, and I'm going to just go over some of these lines. Now, I used a reference picture. Sometimes cupcakes are not, the lines aren't perfectly straight, and that's why I did them crooked here. But if you really want to draw something that's perfectly straight, you can draw over these lines. The printing, the gray printing, it'll make it more realistic. On the top, the cupcake goes in sort of a V. Take my mid-tone pencil. Now, you could choose your colors on this, any pencils that you want. You just need the analogous colors for the sienna brown, and I left that in the course, what your analogous colors are. You can skip as long as it's in the same category. So we're going to be using the red-brown, and that's the sienna. And I'm going to go over, I'm going to make it a little bit straighter because I don't have that exact reference photo in front of me. And I'm going to just go over some of these lines. Don't make them perfect or it won't work out. It'll look kind of fake. Just like we did with hard lighting a couple of lessons back, where we didn't blend the colors that much. They were blended a little bit, and that was with the bow. I'm going to be using the same technique to do the cupcake. The colors are going to sit next to each other, blend sort of together, give it an illusion. The colors have to be specifically put down in a certain way, and you're going to learn that today. Don't make them even, because in a cupcake, the batter expands, so your paper cupcake is not going to have even triangles. Now, this is where the laydown becomes important. You need to decide which side the light comes. At this point, it's very important. If the light is coming this way, you're going to do your cupcake going one way. If the light is coming this way, you're going to do it the other way. I'm going to have my light coming from over here. Okay? And you have to make sure you don't forget which one. Put a little bit of blue painter's tape. I'm putting a dot here because this is really not going to be a completely developed picture. But that keeps my reminder that this is the way the light is coming. Now, since it's coming this way, everything on this side of the cupcake tin is going to be lighter. So I'm going to put a white line next to that brown. Now we're going to fill it in, but I just want to get my colors down straight. You want tight lines, so keep the pencil sharp. Now I'm going to take the darkest of my browns, and that's going to be my dark brown. And on the other side of that line, okay, now you went this way with the light, now you're going that way with the dark, and you're going to see why I'm having you do this in just a minute. You're going to put another line, making the 3 lines a sandwich. Okay, I have my white, my mid-tone, and my darker tone. Okay, making sure you the exact lay down just like this. Your picture should be identical to mine at this point. Okay, so you have your 3 lines. Next thing I'm going to use, and I don't usually tell you to do this, but we're going to use our black. Now, usually I use black at the end. You're going to work lightly. And in the middle, where this makes the triangle, I want you to put a light black line. Now, if you think about the cupcake and how it bends in, where it bends in to the cake is going to be darkest. This is going to be my darkest area. Now, see how many lines I'm putting in? And that's why I'm having you do it, the lay down at the beginning, exactly the way I'm doing it, because this way your eyes don't deceive you. Now we're going to start filling in some of the color, and I'm going to go back to my white, and I'm going to just thicken up my white line just a little bit. Now on the inside of the brown line, I'm going to curve it, and it has to be on the inside. Okay, I'm going to go back to my mid-tone pencil. Now in between your black and your white, that's where I'm going to put my mid-tone. So here's my white, my black, right in between. My white and my black, right in between. Should be running out of space and things are starting to push together, and that's what we want to see. Space is getting tight. My black and my white right in between. The one that's directly in front should be a little bit larger. Your midtone should be on your white side of the cupcake. Okay, just like that. Now the next, you're going to pick your darker of the analogous colors, nice and sharp, and you have your black line, your mid-tone, your white. Now you should have a space on the other side, and you're going to color that in. You don't have to have a heavy hand. We're not at the blending stage. We're still at that point of laying down that first layer. Blending comes next. On the inside of the brown that you put on the bottom, you're going to connect your white, keep it on the inside of that dark line. Just like that. Now we're going to stop for a few minutes. On the inside, not near the white, so it's above the white. Now, you know how on a cupcake, the outside gets a little toastier, gets a little bit more well done than the inside. That's why you're putting that black there. Now, on the outside of here, right on the gray, you're going to put what we call the occlusive shadow. And you're going to use your black, and you're going to just go in there and form the occlusive shadow. And that's where your cupcake touches down on the table or whatever it's on. Now I'm going to go back with my mid-tone, and I'm going to start blending in a little bit of the white, a little bit of the black. Some of the lines are so close together, it's hard to see. Again, Prismacolor isn't the best for doing this technique. A harder wax is much easier. But since we're working on Prismacolor, we deal with what we have. But if you're doing with this with polychromos, it's way easier. I'm just going over some of my lines because they start to blur. And our bottom layer is done. Now we do the artwork. Now that I've done sort of like a mapping of where my color shades are going to be, I'm going to start actually making the wrapper. If I want the wrapper to sort of bend and squish, I'm going to darken up certain areas. Now, we're making the light come in this way. So this side is going to be much darker. But because I have all the colors down underneath, you see that it gives an illusion. Now you can get plenty of reference photos out there on Google. This is one that I drew up. This is just a cupcake, generic cupcake. There are plenty of cupcakes that you can use to put in your lights and darks. I like to work with a, when I'm not doing a specific one, I like to kind of take the best of both worlds. And on most of the ones that I looked at, the reference photos, it's darker towards the bottom. Another idea, and a lot of people do this, which I do recommend, is to use a little bit of marker underneath. But since I don't know what you guys have as far as equipment, I wanted to make sure that at least we're working with something that I know that everybody has, and that's the pencils. And this is just a dark brown. Going over the white with the dark brown, it's never going to be dark brown. That's why I had you put in all those lines, because it's always going to affect the color that you put over it. So it's kind of, I'm going to switch over to my lighter brown, because I'm working now on this side of the picture, and it's going to be lighter. Okay, now before I start tightening up some of the lines and everything that I have in there, I want to put down a little bit of Posca. Posca could be chipped off, but it'll help hold the line, the whites, where I want them to be white. And then I could basically sculpt them. Now, I used to have a lot of trouble with Posca. It wasn't opaque enough. But I'm using the thicker one, and the thicker one is much better. I get much better coverage. Okay, so now I'm going to just put a little bit of Posca down. Okay, and of course that's way too stark. We have to tone this way down. And we'll let that dry. While I'm waiting for this to be completely dry, it's dry to the touch, I'm going to work on the cake. And I'm going to begin with using my my sand. Well, this is beige. And right in the middle where the cake would be, I'm going to put a squiggly line. Right off the bat. And now I'm going to get out my dark brown. I'm making chocolate cake. So I have the black in there. Now I want to fill in, just like we did the cookie. Now, it's not going to have as many peaks and valleys as the cookie, but it will have texture. So, remember when I taught you how to do scribing? This would be the time that you would be scribing. Now, this is an occlusive shadow that would be underneath the frosting at the top. It's just easier to put it in and separate the areas. And remember, this is going to be a hard line because it's two different objects. This is a hard line. The cake is a hard line. In between, there should be hard lines. And then we'll have the fluffiness on the frosting. Technically, I wouldn't eat this. Look at the size of the cupcake. Would you eat that much frosting? Ugh. I like a little, I like it a little bit. That's way too much. And believe it or not, they make cupcakes like this. Like these new 2020 cupcakes. They sell them on the strip. Of course, I haven't gotten one in ages because I haven't been down to the strip. My daughter gave out cupcakes, you know, not like gourmet cupcakes at her wedding in like those little boxes that have like bride and groom on them and stuff like that. And she got them from one of those gourmet places off the strip. They were amazing. Right between the white the black end here. I'm just darkening it up. Okay, now I'm going to go and blend in the middle. And because you have all that scribed color, your texture will come right out. Don't do it too hard or you'll get rid of that texture, but... Okay, now I'm going to go back to the bottom and I'm going to start to shape some of the Posca. Now you just keep in mind that where your colors went. On this side of the line, you use your lighter color because the light is hitting that way. In the center, remember you have the dark as it goes into the cupcake. And remember the dark line hit right in the middle of where the arrow was on the top. Because by now everything is so blended, you just got to keep that in mind. And I'm going to use a little bit of white to get kind of like the paper is over that chocolate look. Like you're seeing the chocolate beneath the paper. To avoid having this tutorial being so long, we did the cherry as the first object in the course. So for the cherry, you'll just follow the same exact directions. There's no change. So I finished the cherry, and we're going to start working on the cream, or the frosting. So what I did is I put in a dark line over the lines that I had made, and I used the color raspberry. Now, this has the same type of laydown as before. Now, you're going to go in with the raspberry a little bit lighter. So I did a heavy line. And now you're going to go in with the raspberry color a little bit lighter. We just wanted enough so that when we put in the other pink, it's going to sort of blend together. And it's very easy to pick up the color. So you're going to have the dark line and then a light faded shade. Just like that. And I'm going to do it for the whole cupcake. Just like this. Very simple. Okay, the next thing I did after finishing that slight bit of shade is I took my white and above the dark, it has to be above the dark line. Above that line, you'll put a line of white. Don't cover up that dark. Just like that. And follow it all the way around for all of them. I think I got them all. Then I'm going to start working on just sprinkles of color all over it. I'm going to use some light blue. Here's one, blue slate. Actually, I want a brighter color than this. I have my non-photo. That's a good color. Okay, so I'm going to just fill in some of the sprinkles. This will be nice. Pink frosting with blue sprinkles. Okay, so the sprinkles are done. We still have to shade them up, but for now they're done. And I'm going to move on to the frosting. I'm going to get out, I'm going to use pink rose. I'm going to pick up a little bit of the color. Let's see over here. A little bit of the color of the dark line. And I'm going to blend it down. I don't want to completely blend up that dark line. And I'm going to add a couple of layers. Just like that. I'll come back when I'm done, because this is going to take me a while. Don't cover up the white. Okay, now that I have all my colors on the page, I'm going to start to shape up the frosting a bit. So what I'm going to do is in different areas, I'm going to get a little darker. So let me see. So I'm going to take, say, this area, and I want to shape it so that it's kind of rounder. And then I'm going to take my lighter pink just like that. And I'm going to take my white and I'm going to sort of bring it more up. Like that. Blending those two colors together until this area down here is almost matching. It's not going to match completely because this is pure white, and I don't want to get rid of that pure white. And I'm going to continue doing the same thing, going all through it. I'm going to round this up a bit, round it up a bit. And right under the line, I'm going to keep that dark. Blend this area up with the lighter pink or the rose. And then move on to my white, right in that area in between. So this becomes very light pink. Just like that. Now, of course, it still needs a lot more blending. And I'm going to do the same thing for the entire cupcake. Okay, so what did I do, and how do I catch you up? Now, each one of these were 2. Now, I left it open because if I had put 2 in there, it would have been very hard to do. So what you're going to do is each one of these boxes, from here to here, from here to here, here to here, you're going to take your darker color, and we'll work on, say, this one. And you're going to draw in your swirl. Just like that. Right on top, you're going to put your white. So you're going to have your old colors that are blended, and now you're doing new ones. You're going to put your white there. Then you're going to use your darker color. And that's going to go on the top. Okay. Right like that. it's going to butt up next to the next white. Okay? Then I'm going to use a little bit of Posca. And I'm going to add Posca to the very outside. Okay? Let that dry, and you're going to shape it very thin. Okay, then I'm going to choose another color, and in this case I've been using Crimson Lake, which is in the same analogous line. So you just look up your raspberry, look at the raspberry in the book, and then look at what the analogous colors for raspberry is, and you're going to add dark right underneath and let it fade into it. Keep it very loose, and because this is not, this is going to be like a shadow, so it's not really a full line. Keep it organic. Don't be strict with it. Now I'm looking on this, and this looks like it goes in, so I'm going to darken it up. Here's where you're going to use some of your own artistic talent to decide what you want to do. And then right here, also, I want to darken it up right underneath that line. Right like that. So it's starting to take on a very rippled effect. Now I'm going to do a little bit darker around here. We're starting to get to the final touches on this. Create such kind of a roundness on it, and that you do that by, excuse me, birds? You're going to do that by adding dark around the edges. Very blended. Should be very soft. Now, if you go with a cool gray for shadows, let's see if I can find my cool grays. Okay, here's a cool gray 70%. Use it very lightly, right underneath. And it'll start bringing out some depth on it. And you don't really want to put it in the light pink. It'll blend up better if it's going into the darker. See, you're going to get a little shadow in there. So this is going to take me a long time to do. Don't rush it. The more you work on it, the more realistic it'll look. Now we have to start working on the sprinkles, because we haven't really done anything except added some color to it. So I'm going to get out my blue. I'm going to give it another coat. And this is the non-photo. You can use any color you want. Okay, now I want to slightly shadow them. So if I have my light coming in like this direction, your shadow is on this side. Not much, because it's very small. Just a little darkening. Just to give them a little lift up off the page. Okay, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to Give it a little bit more shadow underneath here. This is all the details that you can be working on forever. When you look and then you see that you need to do something. And then I'm going to go in with my black again. And I'm going to do my occlusives over again because they practically disappeared. I'm going to just put a quick shadow right here. And I mean quick. I hardly ever sign my stuff. Okay, that's about all the instruction I can give you on this. You just gotta keep playing with it. If it takes you a little bit more than one to do, I mean, I see a lot of things on here that still need to be done, but with all the details, you could be working on that for hours. We could be here until tomorrow. Okay. I will see you guys in my next lesson. Take care. Bye-bye.